everyone, I want to talk to you about the Grand National. I don't support the Grand National because I think it's unnecessarily dangerous and I don't think the horses get a fair deal at all. I'm going to give you some statistics and some information and you can make your own minds up about this. Oh, I should clarify as well, all equestrian sports have really bad things happen and they're all fucked up to a certain degree. So I'm not just picking on horse racing. I'm picking on horse racing specifically because the Grand National just happened. You may have had a bet on it, you know, so it's in the public eye. And also I should mention that not all horse races are bad. Not all horses are kept badly. Not all horse races are dangerous, you know. I'm sure there are some that are pretty safe. But unfortunately they're the minority. Over the Aintree meet, the Grand National meet, 5 horses died. 5 dead horses, just for some racing. In the first 8 days of April, 7 horses died on racetracks in the UK. In the last 3,311 days, 1,374 horses have died on racetracks. If it was that many humans, there's no way in hell we'd be having this conversation because that just wouldn't be acceptable. I don't understand why it's acceptable for 1,374 horses to die. 89% of all racehorses suffer from stomach ulcers. 89% of horses in stables, race stables, suffer from them. 2-year-old horses are raced. Now horses, I don't know if you know this, but they don't reach their full size until they're between 5 and 6 years old, and their skeletons aren't fused properly until they're at that sort of age. They have growth plates, which is the end of the bones where it's still growing. Those growth plates don't fuse until they're between 5 and 6 years old. So if you're racing 2-year-old horses, their growth plates aren't fused, so you can imagine it does a lot of damage to their bones, their joints, their backs. 62% of these 2-year-old racehorses that I've just described have at least one ongoing veterinary condition. 50% of all racehorses have blood in their windpipes. This is what's caused by racing. They race, you know, they're ripping out the lining of their lungs, they have blood in their windpipes. And you might be saying, oh, but they look after the horses when they finish racing. Let me tell you a nice story. There's a horse called Out of Nothing. Now, she was a racehorse and she raced up until 2014. She raced 43 times in England and Ireland. She won 3 times and she was placed 8 times. In February this year, she was found emaciated and barely able to stand, just abandoned in a field. She was identified by her microchip, but she had to be put to sleep. She couldn't be saved. She was a winning racehorse. But in 2014, her career came to an end and she was no longer a viable asset. Obviously, some horses go on to have fantastic retirements, but they're the minority again. At least 1,000 racehorses are killed in British slaughterhouses every year. The rest are offered up free to a good home a lot of the time. I get offered racehorses all the time. I get offered ex-racehorses or failed racehorses. Generally, they're companion-only horses, which means they've got damage to their backs or legs, which means they can't be ridden because of pain. So, you know, these horses are 5, 6 years old and they've got chronic pain already. You know, they can go on to live 30, 35, 40 years. Why couldn't we wait till they were 7 years old? They're far less likely to injure themselves. Oh, and just so you know, that they don't love to race. They don't do it for fun. You know, when you see the rider come off and the horse keeps running, it's not running because, yay, I love to run. It's running because it's been conditioned to. If you'd spent weeks and months of training with someone hitting you to make you run faster and faster and faster, you just keep running too. That's, you know, it's deeply ingrained into them. You just run like fuck or else. That's why when racehorses are lucky enough to be rehomed as pleasure horses, pet horses, they have to go through retraining of racehorses, which is a very specific training program which undoes the racehorse training. So they learn that they don't just have to run as fast as they can every time there's someone on their back. That's why I don't like horse racing. I know it's not going to end overnight. I'm not suggesting it just ends overnight. That's not realistic. What I would like to see is for there to be a lot more consideration about the welfare of the animals. I don't want them racing at 2 years old. I think they should be at least 6 or 7 years old before they're allowed to race. I think there should be real considerations made for the welfare of these animals after they've been racing as well, when they're retired, you know? Don't just send them off to slaughterhouses or give them away to anyone who'll take them, you know, just to do what they want with. Make sure they have proper, safe retirements. And make the courses safer. They don't need to be as dangerous as they are. I know there's going to be accidents. There are always accidents. There are accidents just in the fields. You know, horses slip over and break a leg. It's tragic. But there's a difference between an accident and a calculated risk. And with racing, it's a calculated risk. I don't think that's acceptable. Hopefully you've understood what I'm trying to get across here, and maybe you'll reconsider betting on Grand National again. If you still think it's okay to exploit animals and kill them for fun and entertainment, then quite frankly you've got bigger problems, so fuck off.